you may have seen this bear making the rounds on paranormal YouTube lately.
But as you saw, the toy's original position was nowhere near the bathroom.
So, like many of you, I saw the clip from Paranormal Quest where this Weeble Wobble seemed to roll out of one room and down the hall and land right at the edge of the stairs. The clip was super intriguing, but it immediately made me wonder, is there something paranormal going on here, or can this be explained? And I do have the answer for you guys, so fasten your seatbelts because we are headed to Kansas. So today we are at the Garnett House in Garnett, Kansas, investigating claims of paranormal activity. There have been a few really big teams who have come here lately and captured some pretty compelling stuff that I think warranted a trip to come out and investigate and see if we can not only recreate what we saw on the videos, but also do a full investigation and cover all of the bases. And in this video, it will be a lot of jumping back and forth between the live investigation, and then you'll get me adding some additional context where it's needed. I've watched a lot of YouTube paranormal clips over the last few years, and this one really stuck out to me. Most notably, it wasn't obviously fake like 99% of the clips you see these days coming from places like TikTok and Instagram, but Paranormal Quest's reactions really did seem to be genuine, and they have a good reputation not just in the paranormal community, but the debunking community as well. So this clip really intrigued me. So after about a day's worth of research and looking into some of the paranormal claims taking place at the Garnett House, I decided it was worth the trip. So I went and I booked an overnight stay for the following Sunday, which gave me about a week and a half to get all of my investigation together and how I wanted to go about investigating this claim. So for someone like me who investigates paranormal claims, the most important piece of my investigation happens before I even get to the location. This is where I document what I want to test, how I'm going to test it, and then what equipment I need to bring with me. And this investigation is no different. So I knew if I wanted to get this right, I needed to get my hands on a chub. A chubby cub, I mean. Sorry, I've been spending way too much time with Crow lately. And speaking of CrowOfJudas, who is a awesome and very highly regarded debunker in this community, I heard through the grapevine that he was also looking for his own chubby cub. I reached out to him and we got to talking and decided that we actually were going to collab on this and bring you this debunk more or less together. So after I got to talking with Crow, I realized he was already pretty in deep with an investigation into the Garnett House, and he was an excellent resource because he has watched tons of paranormal footage from all sorts of teams, big and small, across YouTube. So huge shout out to the CrowOfJudas. Thank you so much for your help on this. It's awesome to work with you. Hopefully we can do it again. Please go check out his channel if you get a chance. Do it right after this video. If you don't, I'll know. Anyway, so the Crow and I were both in the market for a chubby cub, and I ended up getting this little guy. His name is Benny Kittle. And speaking of Benny Kittle, I did get in contact with Kenny Biddle of CFI, and I had a meeting with him to sit down and see what would be the best way to go about testing this claim and trying to recreate it the way it happened for Paranormal Quest. So I packed up all my gear and headed to Garnett, Kansas to investigate these chubby cub claims for myself. And the first thing I did when I arrived and got through the tour was I set up multiple angles on the chubby cub so we wouldn't miss anything. So our first step with any investigation is setting up security, making sure we've got all of the exits covered, and then any particular spots of interest. So in this case, one of the big claims is going to be the Weeble Wobble, the roly-poly bear Weeble Wobble. So you can see we have two cameras on that, one camera facing directly onto it, and another camera that shows it from this wider angle. So we will capture any of that if that moves even a little bit. So one thing that really surprised me when we first got there was the position of the chubby cub itself. I had planned to recreate exactly where the Chubby Cub had sat when Paranormal Quest was there, but when I got there, it was actually really close. Now, it wasn't exact. For instance, the desk was a little off, but it was so close to the initial setup that I decided it would be better to leave it for a few hours and just kind of could play it by ear and see if the Chubby Cub would move on its own without any input from me. From the time that we started investigating around 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., we left the Chubby Cub completely alone. But around 1 a.m. during a conversation with Crow, my curiosity finally got the best of me, and I decided it was time to start testing these claims. And right as we entered the room to start testing, we captured this. Yeah, we have two cameras on it. We have this camera that faces out to it, and then we have another camera wedged between the cowboy boots right there that's focused on it, and then there's also a thermometer right behind it in case temperature changes could be an influencing factor here.
I'm so impressed, because that's what I was thinking, like, because they were there that night as it's getting colder outside, and you can look at into this, and people know this. People say, "Oh, that's just BS." Well, actually, no, it is a thing. When it gets colder, the changes in the wood, the restricting, and it's going to make a difference. If you have something that's kind of sitting there, and if it's a ball or a wheel, those little differences in like the wood is sitting on and things like that can definitely affect it, I think, anyway. But can you walk around? You don't have to walk next to the ball, but maybe walk in different parts of the room, maybe the corners or something, to see if walking on the rim possibly can make that ball, or that makes the Chubby Cub go. The Chubby Cub,
yeah. I can try to get a little close to it. Oh. Oh.
There it goes.
There it goes. There it goes.
The cable. Dude, see, all it needs is a little bit of vibration.
That was. I barely stepped towards it right there, and that thing went. I mean,
and see, if it didn't hit that cable, it might have maybe even went more. So really, what Paranormal Quest caught was really cool, but really it's just the luck of the draw, because sometimes it might go right, it might go left, or sometimes it might hit that sweet spot and go right through the door.
Yep, and I think my cable totally messed that up. But that was on the pretty much perfect trajectory.
It was. It really was. That makes the Chubby Cub go.
The Chubby Cub, yeah. I can try to get a little close to it. Oh.
There it goes.
There it goes. There. Oh.
There it goes.
There it goes. There it goes. So the only thing I had to do to send this rolling was a single step right here with 1 foot. And that was enough. I didn't even have to jump. So, because I know in the video, Paranormal Quest, they were trying to debunk it. To give them a lot of credit, I think they went the right route. I think they got in touch with Kenny and Seg, which is a great idea. It's just kind of all about the way that they set up the bear. And in the heat of the moment, when you're that excited, I think it's pretty hard to get it just right the way it originally was.
Right, yes.
And I think what's happened is it's been reset to its original position before we got here today.
Can I make the point real quick is that I like how Paranormal Quest, they did try to stomp around stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes that might not make it go over, but sometimes it can be stepping in a different part of the floor. But I think what's happening to the Chubby Cub is that it's sitting in a house that is not very stable. It's very old.
Yeah.
And all it needed was enough vibration, because it's on the edge of the room where it's more stable, but it's on a higher point. So if it shakes just enough, the ball gets going, and then the gravity and the floor being warped does the rest of the job.
Yep.
As you saw there.
Yep.
And you walked over, and it went all the way across the room.
Oh, yeah. Now, getting the Chubby Cub to move once is great, but it doesn't mean much if we can't recreate it, which is why it is so important to try and set it up exactly as Paranormal Quest had it when they caught their activity. So to do this, we looked at the original photo PQ had taken of the bear prior to its movement, and then we painstakingly recreated it by counting the floorboards individually and lining up stains on the wall to try to figure out exactly the position that this cub was in when it moved. We even rearranged the toys to put them back in their original positions that they were in the crib. That way the angle of the crib matched up as well as it could with the original photo, because we noticed that some of the toys had been moved around, the desk had been moved a little bit, and we did our best to put it all back. I'm not gonna lie, I probably sat on the floor of the Garnett House for at least 3 full hours while we were there on our 12-hour investigation. I wonder if it's really that simple to just kind of put that there. Like how many dots can I see? I can see 3 dots. Oh shit. See the 3 dots and a little bit of the thing in the photo. You gotta remember it's taken from an angle, so maybe more like that. So that's actually not enough to get a good view of it.
Well, if you're trying to recreate perfectly, you can't see that paw next to his sweater either.
Next to his sweater.
The red circle next to his blue sweater isn't there.
Oh, it must be like it must not be on the right part of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going. Oh, that's it. So it's gotta be like that. Good call. Good fucking call. Oh my god. Dude, that's what it is. It's roll. That's what it is. So it wasn't easy, but little by little, we did start to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And one of the biggest pieces is the pattern on the Weeble Wobble itself, specifically this flower pattern. In an effort to recreate exactly how the Weeble Wobble looked in the Paranormal Quest video, we noticed that this flower pattern didn't seem to match, and we couldn't quite figure out why. We had assumed that the Chubby Cub was in its regular stable position when it was photographed in the Paranormal Quest video, but we couldn't quite wrap our minds around why the flower pattern when we put it down was very different, until we decided to roll it back and try to match that flower pattern. So in order to recreate the pattern, we began to roll the ball backwards like this, and when we got it into position, we realized that by doing so, we threw the balance of the Weeble Wobble completely out of whack. So to explain exactly what I found, I'm gonna let my cameraman Bob tell you more about it, because he's got a minor in physics and explains it much better than I can.
Yeah, so it's not just, like, we're using the pattern to kind of tell where the sphere is at, but it's not 100% spherical. Part of it is kind of flat, and that is where the balancing weight is to make it kind of weeble and wobble forward. And so the idea is that you want to turn it such that that weight is off of the ground and trying to go down via gravity, and we're just using the patterns to tell us where that weight is at any given point.
Exactly. So this is the original pattern. All we're going to do is recreate the original pattern, but move it like that. So now it is in a state where it wants to move forward. You can tell it. Like the second I take my hand off of it, see how it's like that? And so I think what's happening is they're situating it right in this corner here, right in it, in just a perfect little way to where it won't roll, but it really, really wants to. Something like, oh man, I gotta be like so gentle with it. It's just so hard to even keep it like this. Okay, right there. That is. So something I want to make abundantly clear about the pattern on the Chubby Cub is that the position we see the Chubby Cub in the Paranormal Quest footage, where the pattern has this little bit of flower showing right underneath the left breast area, is not natural whatsoever. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean it's literally impossible to keep it in this position without wedging it. So I would have to wedge this, for instance, between the crib and the wall in order to get the bear to stay there. Because what the bear naturally wants to do is right itself, and it will move the body to cover this every time. And I tested this time and time again, and it's always true. You never get into a position where you can see the red outline. This midline right here on the ball makes sure that the body sits squarely on it. So the only way to actually expose this left breast pocket is to wedge it. We know the bear is in its stable state, right? We can tell because the pattern does not show that breast pocket. But if we wanted to roll it back, we would get rid of the one paw, because obviously this doesn't match the pattern. Get rid of the second paw and leave it just barely exposed right there. And now we see that this matches the pattern in the Paranormal Quest video. So we get it just right with just barely exposing that breast pocket, and then we wedge it between two items. And this keeps it from losing, or this keeps it from righting itself. Yeah, see that? So we have just barely a little bit of the pocket showing there, and that is the key. And as those micro movements, act on the ball, it starts to loosen the grip on the sides, and it returns back to covering that breast pocket. It is not possible for the breast pocket to be exposed without wedging the Weeble Wobble. It has to be wedged between two items to hold it there. So anytime you see this pattern right here, it gets covered. Reset it. Get it right into the position. And we lean it just a little bit. You can see it will not stay in the position we see it in the Paranormal Quest clip. Not even a little bit. Sometimes you do have to shake the ball out to get it back to equilibrium. But you can actually see most of the time, and this was true for the other Chubby Cub, the body wants to be more forward than more backwards, right? See how it always wants to kind of go forward? That was true for both of the Weebles. So this pattern proves without a doubt that the Chubby Cub had to be put right there, rolled backwards, right? And then to keep it there, it had to be wedged. And it still, even to do this, you kind of have to lean it backwards even further and really kind of work your way to get it where it is. Like, I'm having trouble even doing it. There we go. I finally wedged that right arm. And that is the way it was done in the Paranormal Quest clip. This right arm is wedged against the wall, and the other arm over here is kind of wedged against the crib. And that's what allows this little left breast pocket flower to be exposed. This pattern is huge, and it explains why the Weeble moved for Paranormal Quest, but not for other teams, because this pattern doesn't always show up in the videos of the Weeble Wobble. But when it does, what we know now is it is much more likely to move on its own if we see that left breast pocket flower. Make sure I cover it. We're gonna do this a bunch more times. Get it right there. Nope, can't keep it there. It threw off the center too much. If we put it right there again. Nope, it won't let you do this. This is an unnatural position for the Weeble to be in. You cannot set it up that way. It just doesn't work. It always wants to return. Even if I try to move it further back, like say I try to do it twice, it always wants to return to the equilibrium. Just to get a good visual on it, this is the steady state pattern. You can see that this midline right here is right about where the body wants to sit. This is always true. If I roll it back, try to get it right there so that breast pocket's just barely exposed. See how it's already trying to move? Here. Roll it back again. Nope. Third time's the charm, right guys? Nope. And you can see how that momentum could carry this Weeble across the floor, especially in a slanted place. You cannot physically set this up the way that it is in that Paranormal Quest video. At least you can't do it without rolling it backwards and then immediately wedging it against the wall. Specifically with this arm right here. That was the way I was able to recreate it. It's the way we got the Weeble to roll all the way across the floor, and it was the first big break we had in recreating this consistently.
We're gonna try to, because I think the bear was leaning back just a little bit more.
Okay.
Like there.
Do you see what I mean about it moving?
Yeah, it's like it wants to move forward so
But it
bad.
doesn't when it's in the regular pattern.
Yeah.
So that is the key right there. That is the key.
I think that's like perfect because you can see a little bit of the red there.
Yeah, I see it moving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yep.
There it goes.
There it goes. I'm gonna catch it at the end of the hall, just in case.
Oh.
Oh, here she goes. And we're good. It would have gone a bit farther, caught the cord, but that's it. That's how it's being done. So, one thing to note is the importance of the idea of the stable state, as I like to call it, which is just when the Weeble Wobble sits completely in a, nope, you sit now, a Benny Kittle. We talked about this. We talked about it. So, I think I actually messed it up. It's not centered. There we go. So this is the stable state for the Chubby Cub. You can see it's got the flower pattern in the front, not like what we saw in the PQ video. And then you can also see that it's completely stable. I can go all around it and it doesn't cause any issues. Now, watch what happens when we roll it back into what I consider the charged state. Right about there. So I'm gonna put it on the ground and I'm gonna lean it just a little bit to the left, which was how it was in the PQ video. You see that motion where it starts to rock and sway? Now, on a level surface like this counter, that's okay. It will eventually right itself. But in a place like the Garnett House, where the floors look like this, it's a huge problem. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to set it in the standard position where the paw is just how it naturally wants to be. And it does kind of always try to reorient itself towards the center. So I think if I put it on the ground and kind of let it be, this is the natural resting position, right? Can you see the pattern that it's on?
Where'd you put that flashlight? I had my phone. Hold on.
Here, let's...
Okay, now we can see the pattern.
Okay. Let's set it down. See, this is pretty high up. So in a perfect world, it sits like this. If you spin it so that you only want to see this bottom one right there, that's when it wants to roll. That's when it wants to roll. So if we leave it like this in the original state, and we set it down, you can see it doesn't roll. Take the ball, move it up until that's the only one there. Mm-hmm. Lean it just a little bit to the left.
And there it goes.
There it goes. I don't even have the words. I'm so excited about this. You guys don't even know. Debunked. That's all. I gotta call Crow.
The words he's looking for is science, bitches.
There we go. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Paranormal Quest's attempted debunk of the Chubby Cub. Now, I think they started down the right path, but the problem is they didn't spend quite enough time, at least that we saw on camera, and obviously they didn't have the gift of hindsight like I do to kind of better prepare to go in and really get to the bottom of these claims. And that is by no fault of their own, and I hope that Paranormal Quest continues debunking and trying to explain what they catch, because I don't think there's ever a problem with that as long as you go about it the right way and you try your best.
Here, leaned backwards up against the wall.
So the first thing I want to touch on is the idea of the Chubby Cub being leaned backwards, because they do talk about this a lot, and at first it makes a lot of sense because you go, oh, how could the cub move forward when it's leaned so far back? But it's actually kind of counterintuitive, because as the Chubby Cub leans back and that weight gets further displaced from its resting position, it stores up that energy. So when it finally does tip for whatever reason, it actually releases more energy that can get it over that hump and really get it rolling.
Now let's just see really quick, because it was like this. I mean, like,
when Paranormal Quest starts stomping and jumping near the toy, what you will notice is that when David sets it down, he makes sure that it gets to that resting state first before he starts jumping. Now, this is not his fault. This is the position it wants to be in. It tries to get here naturally, and in this case, it succeeds. But when it's in its resting position, it is much, much more difficult to get it to move with the same force that it does when it's both rolled back a bit and turned, right? That motion right there, that's what kicks off the full roll.
I mean, that's how it was leaned up, right?
Yeah. And it was even actually probably leaned back even further against the wall like that.
So here when Ryan tries to get the toy to move and stomps around it, you can see it's in a very awkward position, kind of like that. And what happens is the weight inside this bear does sort of have a point of no return. If it gets too out of whack, too far off from center, it can get to this weird state. One thing I did notice is that with my Chubby Cub, which has seen a little less wear and tear, it has an easier time returning back to its upright position than the one filmed in the Garnett House. And I think that's as simple as just this one didn't get used quite as much. It has an easier time returning, and the other one does not. But let's try to recreate it anyways right now. So if I roll it back, yeah, you can kind of, there we go. There's that point of no return. And see, it can kind of just get there. If you roll it back a little too far, it'll get stuck. That's what we're seeing in that clip.
Wait.
As you can see here, Ryan's stomps are pretty loud and aggressive. And if you look at some of my clips, you can see that I actually am a lot lighter than he is. So it really is all about the position more so than, you know, how high you can jump, how much weight you can try to use. The position is more important than the force you use to try and get it to move. Another thing that really strengthens the argument of the position's importance is if you look at their walkthrough photo and you compare it to the photo they say is very similar for their recreation.
So that's where we put it back where it was. Right by the boots, right beside the crib, leaned up against the wall, leaned backwards like it was. Pretty much identical.
There are some pretty big differences. And like I said before, it really, really matters in this case. And again, no fault of their own for not figuring that out. It took a lot of trial and error to get to where we got.
And just to show everybody, like, there's nothing here.
Right.
Also, just another quick thing I wanted to add. When David picks up the crib, it kind of destroys all the chances of a good recreation, because now what the Weeble was actually resting against is no longer in the same place. It makes their job a lot harder. It's kind of the same thing as like walking into a crime scene and just, you know, moving everything around and touching the bodies or whatever. You understand what I'm saying.
But see,
Oh, it's going down the stairs.
Honestly, I can't fault him for this. I did the exact same thing. Roll the clip. There it goes. There it goes. Oh, shit. No. And once again, I want to highlight that the best thing they did in this debunk was reach out to other debunkers for advice and other ways to test. I think that's a great start. I think more paranormal teams should be utilizing this, and we could get to the truth about a lot of paranormal mysteries that are out there today. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of this in the future. The next piece of this puzzle that we discovered was actually not with the cub itself, but where it was placed, and that is the crib leg. So on its own, you can get the chubby cub to move when you situate it just right, lean it back, and roll it to the correct pattern. But if you want to make it a lot more repeatable, all you have to do is take the appropriate side, so in this case I believe it was the left, and barely set it onto the edge of the crib leg. It's undetectable from the front view and barely noticeable from the side view. But what it does is just add a little bit of extra instability, and it makes it much easier to roll, especially when you have external factors like micro vibrations, a slanted house, trains going by. These all affect the Weeble, and when it's that unstable, especially with the crib leg, it's that much easier to move.
There it goes, yep.
There it goes. Did I hit it? So one thing I've touched on a bit, but we should go into more detail on, are the floors. They are extremely slanted. And in order to prove that, I went out to Walmart and bought myself a laser level. And what you're about to see is us measuring the floor to see just how slanted it really is. And I think the results are gonna shock you. Now we're gonna take this laser level and we're gonna measure the slant in this room, because you can see that from this edge on through here, it is extremely slanted. So we'll use this device to measure it. Yeah. Can you show that on the wall? Probably shows it better on the wall. So that'll give us an exact pinpoint spot between, you know, where this starts and where it ends up on this wall. All right. So if the Weeble Wobble's right about there, but we're gonna angle it, right, to be about 3/4 of an inch. That's where the crosshairs start, and where they end up from the floor. Over on this side. Oh, holy shit, man. Good Lord. We are looking at roughly 6 inches. So there is about a 3-inch difference from that side of the room over to here. There's a 3-inch slant, which, if that doesn't sound like a lot, it's massive. Me and cameraman Bob have actually been feeling kind of sick the longer we stay up here, because it has a real effect on your balance, your coordination, that kind of thing. So As you can see, they are slanted a full 3 inches, which might not sound like much, but this is enough to really disorient you. And there were multiple times during this investigation where myself and my cameraman Bob had to leave the room because it was that disorienting. We got headaches, we felt dizzy. Overall, it was just not an enjoyable experience standing in that room. So just like Paranormal Quest, myself and Crow wanted to get another opinion. So we reached out to the side-eye guy and talked to him to get his thoughts on the situation.
And I do agree with your debunk that it wants to propel forward. That's the design of it. It wants to do that. So if it's leaning backwards, it wants to propel itself into the center, and then from it, even just ever so slightly leaning back to moving forward, that's going to propel it to glide forward like it did on Paranormal Quest. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But the problem people are going to have is that if you could get it to move by ever so slightly, standing on a floorboard, all believers are going to turn around and say is like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Nobody was in the house at the time. And I got to admit, that is the bit that is most interesting.
So a lot of you out there are probably asking yourself the same question that Seg did. And that question is, Mason, what started the initial movement of the Weeble Wobble? And this is my favorite part because I do have some great evidence to show you. So the answer isn't any one thing, it's actually a ton of different things. From the trains passing by, to the wind acting on the house, to all the little temperature changes, they all combine to create these micro movements that we can see in real time by scrubbing through the surveillance footage.
Okay, so this is the Weeble Wobble at 12 a.m. Now, I'm going to fast forward through my security cam footage to the 1 hour and 20 minute mark. All right. In this period, the bear was not touched. It was not moved. You can see where movement occurs. And we don't start our own tests for the Weeble Wobble until about 1:20, which you can see right here. And then on, like we do a lot of tests with it. But this is the original setup when we got to the Garnett House. This is how we found it. Now watch what happens from 12 a.m. to about 1:20 a.m. You see the movement? Now I'll go back, and then I'll go forward. These are the micro vibrations that are having an effect on the bear over a period of an hour and 20 minutes. And if it can move this much in an hour and 20 minutes, then it can move so much more over a period of a couple days. And when it finally just reaches a tipping point, it's going to roll all the way down. But this is it right here. Now I'm going to show it a whole bunch of times right now. Ready? It's important to remember that this isn't a sudden movement. This is a movement that happens over a long period of time. Because if I just try to scroll, randomly around, you can see that the movements in between are pretty much invisible. It's only when you look at them on a larger time period that you can actually see these bigger movements, right? So if I just try to barely go forward in time, you don't notice the movements. And I can skip all the way through to the 1 hour 20, and you'll never see the movements because you need a longer time horizon, like this.
If we had had more than just 12 hours there, I can guarantee eventually this Weeble would have reached the tipping point and gone straight forward and rolled just like you saw in the Paranormal Quest clip. Another important note is that this footage comes from the original Weeble setup from when we first arrived at the house and had not ran any tests, had not changed the position from where we had found it. We saw it exactly as it was lying, set up a camera next to it, and recorded these micro movements affecting the Weeble over the period of about an hour and a half. Now, in my opinion, this is the smoking gun. This is the part that everybody, myself included, has a hard time wrapping their head around, is that initial push that starts the Weeble Wobble or the Chubby Cub's movement. And this is the explanation. Micro movements caught in real time. I was so happy to see that we got this on footage. And I'm sure somewhere out there, Kenny's smiling right about now. If you want to learn more about micro movements, Kenny Biddle has an excellent video on it. I'll be sure to link it right here for you guys so you can go check it out.
Hello. So Mason asked me to come on here and say a few things, and I was glad to because, man, I had such a great time working with Mason. We've been nerding out over this Chubby Cub toy, and it's been great. He was the only one at the time that I knew ordered this toy right after that video dropped from Paranormal Quest. Because I love stuff like that. I actually had my own video that I was working on before all this even happened. And now that this happened, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's kind of come full circle. No pun intended.
What?
I want to say I was so impressed with Mason, man, because he actually, left his office and drove to the Garnett House and actually did a real investigation. And this right here was the best way of showing the dichotomy between a ghost hunter and an investigator, because people love calling themselves investigators and they are not. I was trying to think about what I could add to this without being too repetitive. I might repeat some things he said, so I'll try to keep it quick. But again, I feel like most investigators, when they go to a place like Garnett House in particular, and others like it, almost like they're at a Disney attraction. That haunted attraction at Disney World? It's almost like that's what they're doing. Oh, wow, look at that. The doll fell down. Wow, this is great. Oh, my God. Oh. They're not actually investigating anything. They're just going along for the ride. I know the argument's going to be from a lot of the full-on paranormal believer world is going to be, well, you had to stomp around to make it move. Oh, there was nobody there. Okay, fair enough. But to understand why the Chubby Cub rolled, you're going to have to take off your paranormal lens, okay? You're going to have to take away all your biases and beliefs and just understand how it rolled by itself. It's just simple physics. It's just simple gravity, whatever you want to call it. Now, look, in the paranormal world, I guess to most people, it was crazy and weird. Oh my God, blah, blah. To me, it wasn't that weird because I know that house pretty good by now. But I can understand how people will be amazed, especially if you don't know the background of the house and how things are set up. But unfortunately, guys, it wasn't that special, okay? It wasn't that weird. Now, let me explain. I think Mason has laid out exactly why the actual Chubby Cub rolled off by itself. But I think people have to understand that this is not the first time this has happened. I'm going to play a quick video for you. These people walk into the room, the Chubby Cub rolls out. Listen to exactly what he says. Here we go.
The last one up there, I think the other guy probably let you in when you...
What the fuck?
What?
That just rolled out of nowhere.
Well,
yeah.
oh, the bear?
I was gonna say, I heard something like...
So,
it rolled forward.
when I got here this morning, and I'm going to ask the last group that was here last night, but it was actually all the way out.
Well, it scared me because his little face came out like a cat, and
So
I was
you were,
like,
like,
oh,
looking
fuck.
at it like-
Yeah. It, like, rolled right towards me, and I...
If it don't get hung up, it will roll all the way, but but it'll stay there for, even though the floor is slanted, it'll stay for a long time.
I know, I'm already horrified.
Now, that video is from 9 months ago, way before PQ was even there. And you heard him say if it didn't hit the couch, it would have rolled all the way across the room because a previous team had it roll basically out the door, I think he said. I have to watch it again. But that right there, it shows this has happened again. It probably happened multiple times. I'm not sure. That happened, and then the ball gets put back in the same exact position. I've got multiple pictures from different investigations, different times. And that ball is basically pretty much always there for the past year or so. But this is the same for all the other objects in the house. With the dolls, that ball falls out of the closet. I mean, numerous times. We have multiple videos of it. it gets put back in the same position, and then it happens again. With people there and without people there. Same with the dolls. Sometimes it takes somebody walking by it, sometimes it falls by itself. As far as the intent, as far as what Justin does in his house, I'm not going to speak to that because the way the dolls are set, to me they look set up to fail. They're leaning over cabinets and doorways and curtain rods. They're basically barely sitting up, and then somebody walks by, it falls over, it's a ghost. But honestly, we're not trying to shit on Justin or his house. We're not trying to say it's not haunted. We're not trying to say don't go there. We say definitely go there. Go investigate for yourself, because the way he's setting things up is pretty much very much normal in the paranormal world. The paranormal world loves things that roll. They love flimsy dolls. They love putting balls and prams on the edges of stairs. You know, that's just the paranormal world. And it's no different for the Chubby Cub toy. It's the same thing. Now, when I saw this from over 1,000 miles away in my office, I saw that the Chubby Cub toy was on the edge of the room, on the very edge. And just from my dealings with houses and stuff like that, I thought it was a very peculiar placement, because the edges of a room like this, to me, is going to have more structure underneath it. It's going to be more sturdy, and it's also going to be higher than the rest of the floor, especially in an old house like this. Well, Mason, being awesome Mason, brung a digital level to the house and showed that in that room in particular, there was a 3-inch downgrade. So that floor slopes. So you're putting a ball, and the Chubby Cub toy, I own it, and it is made to roll. It's a very awkward, weird toy. It's weighted the way it's designed, and shout out to Elaine Baker for helping me so much with all this, because she found the patent. She was trying to tell me how it worked, but I didn't get my ball until the 9th, the day after Mason was there. And I didn't quite understand how it worked, but the best way I can explain it is, remember guys when we had those little toy cars back in the day, and you pull it back and then you let it go and it takes off? That's pretty much what the Chubby Cub does. If I were to pull it back just a few inches on my desk here and then let it go, it goes. You pull it back, you release it, and it goes. And as you saw, Mason has totally debunked this, because this toy is not a normal toy. And it just wasn't sitting in the corner. He proved by the markings of the paws, the paw prints on the actual ball, that it was pre-torqued, if you will. I'm not even sure if that's a fucking word, honestly. Or you can call it the charged position, meaning the ball was rolled back, okay, and then put on the wall, meaning it was in the charged position. Think of a drag car, okay, a drag racing car. Before the light turns green, the wheels are burning, the guy's sitting there waiting to go. That's pretty much that's the Chubby Cub right there. It's sitting there in place, and it's just waiting to take off. It wants to go, it wants to move so bad. It's just waiting for any excuse to move. And when you have a toy like that, that's very unstable, in the corner of a room that's higher than the rest of the room, okay, in a room with warped floors, in a house that was actually designed to be slanted. The house is on a slant, that's what even Justin says it, and it's close to a train track. I have one video, he says it comes by every 30 minutes. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but you can hear it in the background. I'll play it here.
But we get a lot of crazy stuff in here. There's the doll right behind you, Sarah. Her name's Sarah. She was my favorite. She's traveled with me kind of everywhere. And then she ended up here. So she's like the star of the show, and I think the other dolls get a little jealous of her at times. But
that train is mad loud or what?
Yeah, it's part of the ambiance, though. It like happens like every 30 minutes.
That's where the axe murderer came from, was from the train.
And you can't underestimate those vibrations. I have a train far away from me, and my water, sometimes I can't hear it or feel it, but my water in my water bottle, you'll see it shake around. I'm like, what the hell? And then I realize, oh, if I turn the TV down, I'm like, okay, that's the train going by. So I could barely hear it. I can't really even feel it, but you see the water rumbling. So when you have a toy sitting there charged, just waiting to go, and the train keeps on going by, the wind's hitting the house, cars are driving by, these are causing micro vibrations. And man, great job, Mason. I think Kenny's the one that told him to put the static camera right on the Chubby Cub. And by doing so, you look at that video, you can see that doll I'm sorry, you can see that toy on the wall before it even took off. It's just sitting there moving. And if you looked at it from far away, if you were standing in front of it, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's actually moving, but it is. Those are micro vibrations. It reminds me of a Jenga stack. You know, you put the Jenga stack on there, and if you put it too far to the edge, you know, it's going to eventually fall over. The reason why Mason had to walk up to the toy, because he was constrained by time. He had everything he needed except for enough time. He only had one night. So the longer it sits there, the more vibrations, the more trains, the more wind, it's going to make the Chubby Cub toy that much more unstable and pushes it that much further from the wall every time. And all you have to do is get it to go past the point of equilibrium. It doesn't need a big push. It doesn't need a ghost. It doesn't need somebody to stomp on the floor. It just needs that next little bit of vibration to set it off. Because it's sitting there. Look, it already has gravity pushing down on it. It's got gravity trying to push it down that floor. On top of that, you have a toy that's set in the pre-charged position that's just ready to go like a race car. I mean, it's actually pushing forward. So was it pretty cool? Yes. Was it paranormal? Hell no. I mean, a rolling ball toy like this on the edge of a room with a warped floor next to a train track. I'm actually surprised it doesn't go more, to be honest with you. I'm just saying, I know there's going to be a lot of people that they just want to believe so bad. They don't care what we say, all the logic, all the facts, because they want it to be real. Guess what? We do too. We do too. We're both believers. Most of the debunkers are believers. And unfortunately, for some reason, most investigators and ghost hunters out there, they don't know that. They just assume that we're a bunch of non-believers. That's just because they don't know us very well, do they? We want answers too. We would love to encounter real activity. But we don't want to settle for things that are very easily explainable. And this is very easily explainable. I wish it wasn't. I wish it was a book that was just sitting on a flat surface that just flew across the room, you know? But all these dolls that fall down, these balls that fall down, what do? They just fall straight down, don't they? They never just fly out. I heard Elton saying, when he was there at the Garnett House, he was like, oh my God, the doll got thrown again. It didn't get thrown. It fell right in the fucking floor. It didn't get thrown at all. How can they never fly across the room or go upwards? It's always just straight down. Because that's how fucking gravity works, people. Also, I'll just add this real quick too. There's another room, I forgot what it's called now. There's a toy truck, okay? And when I saw this toy truck, I said, well, that's pretty weird. Guess where it's sitting, guys? Guess where it's sitting? It's sitting on the edge of the room again. And to me, that shows a pattern. That means, okay, you're placing things that roll on the edges of a room that are higher than the middle. So there's a slope, okay? Here's a quick clip of that truck moving across the floor.
It's the ladder room, because there's a ladder in here. And sometimes the name just sticks so hard, you just gotta stay with it. But...
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Bro. Wait, was that you? Like,
well, I don't know. I don't know if it was me or not. I literally was sitting here and I just felt it like rumbling. And it just started I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I was
like, what's that noise? And then
yeah,
literally this toy.
So the downside is obviously I'm standing here and you would just sit down.
Sat down, right?
But YouTube people will never believe it. But like this has been sitting there for a long time. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it don't. There's been a lot of people in and out of that chair, and that has not done that. So it's not like it's obvious the floor is slanted, right? Like if it goes, it goes. But the fact that it sits there for so long and don't go.
And again, just wanted to show you the starting point where this truck is usually at. It's on the edge of a room. This is the room that has a 5-inch grate in the floors. But again, something that rolls that's placed on the edge of the room next to the wall. Now what's weird is that I saw another video where they were in that same room, and guess what? The truck wasn't there, but the Chubby Cub was. The Chubby Cub was placed in the same position as the truck. I'll show you right here. Just a quick shot of the Chubby Cub in the same area as the truck usually was. When Mason debunked that toy, when he showed that the position of the paws were in a different position, he showed the first picture of the Chubby Cub toy when Paranormal Quest was there before it rolled, okay? You can see the paws were in that back position where the paw was like at the, I think at the front left breast of the toy. That's a debunk. That shows that it was set there in the charged possession. Now, why it was set there like that, who set it there, I have no idea. I don't really care. We're just focused on the debunk of the toy. I don't think Paranormal Quest intentionally faked anything or anything like that. This is just stuff that happens at this house. Now, if you're a believer, you're going to say, yeah, this place is fucking crazy haunted, and that's the active demons and spirits pushing stuff over. If you're a skeptic like me, you're going to look at it more scientifically, okay? But to be a good investigator, you have to leave your beliefs at the door. You have to leave your biases at the door. Also, I don't blame Paranormal Quest for being like, oh my God, in the moment, you know? It was crazy. It was weird. And, you know, it's great that they reached out to debunkers to see if they could all debunk it. They sat there for a good hour and a half trying to figure it out. And unfortunately, they just couldn't at the time. So that's always a good thing when you try to figure out why things happen. That's awesome. But when Paranormal Quest was there, honestly, it would have happened probably if they were there or not. Just like all these things happen when people are there or not. He used to have a live stream cam set up and things would just happen all the time on their own.
Oh wait, this head, it's really heavy. So
where was that?
Oh, you were filming in here?
I came in here by myself earlier.
Well, maybe you caught it. We would have heard it. It probably was already on the ground at that point, I'm guessing. It was up here, sitting up on the...
To me, it's not very shocking when you put a cloth doll on the edge of a curtain rod, okay? It's just sitting there, hanging over kind of, and you walk by it or enough time goes by, enough vibrations, it'll come down. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. That's why Mason had to stomp, because he had to cause some vibrations, because he didn't have a week or two or a month to sit there and watch this toy. It just takes time and vibrations to slowly agitate it and get it to move away from its original position. That's the key to this. That's why when you see people pick the object back up and they start stomping around and nothing happens, it's because most likely they didn't put it back in the right position. And also, it's in a fresh position. It needs more time to sit there and let gravity and vibrations take effect for it to slowly move over or move away. And in this case, the Chubby Cub, it's just sitting there in that charged position, ready to go. If it sits there for a week or two with all these trains passing by and wind hitting the house, and the wind hits that house really fucking hard. And in that case, that when Paranormal Quest was there at night, I'm pretty sure that night, as it got colder, the floors were constricting, the wood's constricting, and a lot of this is on the fucking, like the microscopic level or the quantum level, whatever you want to say. It does affect these things. And people will say, oh, they roll their eyes, but it definitely does. Like I said, I showed you the video. This has happened before. What's the chances of something, poltergeist activity, happening twice in the same spot? I'd say fucking really slim to none. I see that Paranormal Quest did buy one, and now they're using it on investigations and stuff like that. But unfortunately, it doesn't have any magic power, guys. It's just a toy. It's always sketchy using things that roll in the paranormal because floors are different. It's not impressive to me. You know, it's not. Anyway, I've went way too far. Hopefully I made some sense. Back to you, Mason. I'll be over here in my office just whinging away.
And with that, I think we can lay the mystery of the Chubby Cub to rest. Now, I'm sure you guys have more questions, and I will answer as many as I can in the comments of this video. But just to give a few examples, if you have questions like, Mason, what did you think about the rest of the house? Or Mason, why do you only own 5 shirts? I promise you those questions will be answered in my upcoming investigation where we go over the entire Garnett House. I expect that video will probably come out sometime later this month. But it's not just my video that's coming out. CrowOfJudas has put together an amazing compilation of many people's experiences in the Garnett House over the years and his thoughts on it. And I really think this video is going to blow you away. So stay tuned for that because it is coming soon to a theater near you. And again, I just want to give a big thank you to Crow of Judas. This video would not have been possible without you. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can work together in the future. And another big thank you to Kenny Biddle for sitting down and helping me with this investigation. I really can't thank you guys enough. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps boost this video in the algorithm and show it to more people who, like yourself, might have questions about this that they want answered. Or if you didn't like this video, hey, watch it anyways. And with that, I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.